Hello, I'm Stacy Watford, and welcome to Lessons in Mark from the Greek. And today, our passage we're covering is Mark 1:40 through 45. We are actually finishing chapter 1 this morning. So let me go ahead and select my Greek font. And let's begin with Mark 1:40. Let me go ahead and use the simple just Cambria font there to write out the actual address. And then we'll go back to Greek. Alright, so we get Kai, Ercha, Tai. Already we have a verb. Erchatai comes from erchomai. We'll write the whole thing out first. Pros, auton, lepros. You might recognize that word, not the way it looks, but the way it sounds, lepros. Word for leprosy. Para kalon, auton, kai, ganukaton. Kai just means and. There's some other nuances to it as well, but the basic meaning is and. Legon, auto. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and add the iota subscript because that's some of the markings I'm not bringing into just because they are kind of hard to find on the keyboard. But the iota subscript on the auto, which is the little thing underneath, which you're probably looking at it, and I should have turned off. Yeah, I should have turned it off. Hold on just a minute. Okay, now that I've turned off, I've turned off the spelling corrections and grammar corrections. We can continue. We have hati with the rough breathing there. Ian, and for those of you that are taking Greek, you know that hati is like a that, and Ian is going to suggest a subjunctive mood. And exactly what you have is theles, duna, sai, me, kathar, risai. Alright. So what we have, first of all, is we're introduced to somebody who is, and we'll go ahead and highlight those verbs. It's the first thing you want to do when you're parsing, is check out the verbs. And so we'll highlight the first verb and deal with it. It is erchatai, and it is from ercho. I keep using that wrong one. Erchomai. And just to go ahead and give you the understanding of it, erchomai is a present active, well, it's deponent. and that's a long story behind that. But it's present, and we'll say it is indicative, which means that it's basically just what it is, and it is third singular. Of course, third singular is he, she, or it. So what we have so far is and he, and of course the word meaning, or gloss I should say, is basically to come there, and when you put it in a third singular form, and he came. Alright, you have the next few words, pros auton, lepros, and lepros is telling us, the word lepros here is an adjective, and it is describing the he, the person, and so therefore you have a lepros, a man with leprosy, who came to him, auton, pros auton. So, and we can actually correct that and say, and a you can say, you can do this way, a man with leprosy. I'm sure I did not spell that right. There we go. Came to him. Obviously, the him is inferred here if you were to read the other passages before it came to Jesus. Alright, so what did he do? We've got this leprous man coming to Jesus. What did he do? He parakalon, which is another verb that we will highlight and then draw out here. Parakalon. Changing the font real quickly. And this parakalon is a combination of a preposition and a verb, and it's actually one of our favorite kind of verbs. And I say that jokingly because when I took Greek at seminary, I hated participles, even though in English participles are just simply just adding an ing often to a verb. Participles in Greek just scare the living snot out of me for some reason. But it is a present active participle, and it is nominative, which means it's the subject, masculine, singular. So we're still talking about this leprous man. Nominative means he's the subject of a sentence, masculine, singular. So we're still talking about this leprous man here. And parakalon simply just means to beg or urge. I mean, those are some of the basic nuances, and we're still kind of dealing with basic Greek here. So, you know, we'll just deal with beg or urge. And of course, this is a participle. And so you have the man with leprosy came to him, and of course, as in English, with the participle, you add the ing, and you've got auton again, which is the accusative, and so he came to him. Let's go ahead and just write it out. And a man with leprosy came to him, of course, Jesus, begging him. And this is a little bit different verb here. This verb, and I meant to write out the actual verb, the dictionary form of that other verb. But the other verb, parakalon, comes from parakaleo. Kaleo is kind of like a calling out And then of course you have the para, which adds to it. And again, when you have that together, it brings the nuance, of begging, urging, that kind of thing. But this verb is ganupaton, and it is also a participle. Go ahead and just add those dots there. And then we'll change once again. Ganupe. And we'll go ahead and, since the verb is up there, we'll write the gloss form, the form that you would find in the dictionary. It comes from the word ganupeteo. Ganupeteo. Which simply, well, first of all, we'll deal with it, and of course, it's, you got what you've got is this action going on. He's come to Jesus. He is begging him, and now we see the actual physical posture of this man, and that is, not only is he begging, what do you often do when you beg? You ganupeteo. It's present active participle. Again, nominative, masculine, singular. So you're still talking about the subject of the sentence, and you're still talking about the man here, the man who is leprous, and it simply means to kneel. And when you put that in participle form, and a man with leprosy came to him, begging, and you can put a comma there if you want to, begging. There's some things in English when we transfer over we have to do that it's not necessarily seen in the Greek. It kind of helps us flow. And kneeling, and see, that just would be awkward to us as English speakers, and begging him and kneeling, and we would have left out the and you could, if you wanted to nuance that, you could say begging him, kneeling, and and then you're going to get into what he's actually saying. But since again we're basic Greek students, and kneeling, and because you have the chi again, and legon, which is, guess what, another participle. Not only is he begging and kneeling and begging and kneeling, he is now expressing his desire. He is saying, and we'll go from there, auto, to him. And of course, the legon, I didn't write it out, but it is the word for to say, to speak, the verb for to say or to speak. And it also, in case you're recognizing the endings there, it is also a present active participle. So we have a leprous man. At the same time that he is coming to Jesus, he is begging him, kneeling before him, saying to him. Now, what is he saying? You have hate, which kind of breaks the sentence up a little bit. And then you have Ian, which is a word that, it's the basic word for if. But it introduces a subjunctive verb following it. And basically what it's doing, a subjunctive verb, is expresses possibility, might, may. Oftentimes when you're asking a question, that's what the subjunctive will say there. A man with leprosy came to him, begging him, obviously kneeling and saying to him. Alright, and then let's deal with the hatein, and that is that if. And we'll clean up the nuance in a minute. And then of course the next verb is this verb Again, let's change over to, I wish there was a simple way to do that. Change over to the Greek. And the word in the, I didn't highlight it, the word in Greek is teles. That's the subjunctive mood coming from the word thelo, which basically is expressing, of course, first of all, it is subjunctive, and it is present active. Second, singular. In other words, he's speaking now to Jesus, and he's wanting him. In other words, if I were speaking to Jesus, I would say you. And so what he's wanting to do is express his wish, desire, or will. And so basically what he's asking here is, again, a man with leprosy came to him, begging him, and kneeling, and saying to him that if you will, okay, if you will, and then you have this next interesting verb that some folks may recognize. Theles. See if we can move up a little bit here. If you will, I guess I'll try to keep that there and just work with that one sentence there. If you will, and you have dunasai, which is also the subjunctive, and it is, get my Greek here, from the word dunamai, and again we have a present, actually a present indicative, second person, singular. So what he's saying is, if you will, and we'll go back to this sentence and try to kind of keep it here, and really what he's saying is, if you will, if you are able, or if you are willing, in essence what he's saying, even though there's not a kai there, basically what he's saying is, if you are willing and able to what? You have the may, and then you have the last verb, which is katharisai. Oh, I wanted to give you what that was. The second present indicative second singular of dunamai. And dunamai simply means able. Some people will recognize it as powerful. Pentecostals butcher this word. I think that it means dynamite and dynamite power. And that's another sermon for another day. Alright. Well, what you have here is katharizo. And what katharizo, in case you didn't recognize it, it is in an infinitive form, an aorist infinitive. So let's put that, aorist. Aorist is just simple past. Aorist active, infinitive. And it simply means, it has the gloss. I'm always trying to be careful not to say what it means, but carries the gloss, the nuance of being cleansed, to make clean. So what you have, going back up to, and we'll just highlight this and make this the main verse that we're working with here. If you are willing and able, infinitive, it just most of the time the infinitive, if for those of you that are newcomers to this, you simply can translate it over to just with a simple to. It's to do something. And so, of course, obviously what he's saying is if you're willing and able to make, and of course, me is me, make me clean. Alright, so that is verse 40. So what we have here is, of course, a man with leprosy came to him begging, let's get it out of the slang term there, not begging, but begging him and kneeling and saying to him that if you are willing and able to make me clean. And of course, the thought is not through. It continues in verse 41.